All right, everybody, welcome to the next episode of the Impact Podcast. Hi, my name is Jeff Welsh, and I have my co-host is back this week, Mike Hudgens. Welcome back, Mike.
Hello.
How you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's a nice day out. Yesterday I was grilling for 4th of
Yeah.
July. So that went well. I made some barbecue ribs.
Ooh, you
Yeah,
had a good
low
day
and
on
slow.
low and slow on the grill.
Yeah.
Good, good, good. Well, it's good to see you here again. And this week, guys, we have a special guest. And as you can see, we're in a new setup compared to the last first two episodes. We're in the new studio space. We still have some tech things we're ironing out. We were just playing around with some stuff with Josh here, but we just get better every single week. But moving on, our special guest this week we have is Bijan Fandy. Bijan has been with us. Welcome to the show, Bijan.
Hello, good
How
to
you
be
doing, man?
here. Good, good.
What's new?
Uh, Not much. I mean, I was also grilling out yesterday for 4th of July, except there was a very big storm that came running through, so
Oh
we ended
boy.
up eating inside.
Did you get stormed on while you were cooking?
It was just drizzling a little bit when I was cooking, so I was able to still use the grill, but it started raining pretty hard.
Yeah, we got it here in Morgantown as well for a bit. I actually broke out the charcoal grill
Yeah.
this year and tried to play around with some new stuff and it turned out really well. But that being said, of course, it started raining about 5 minutes after I had lit the charcoal, so it
Yeah.
was not fun there for a bit. But
Yeah.
it's good to see you, Bijan. Thank you. Thanks so much for joining us. Why don't we we've got a lot of exciting things to talk about here today. This week, guys, it's all about talking about the website related work that we do here at Impact. Um, welcome and to seeing the entire team here. I've got Mike, who's been with us for a while, and Bijan, as far as our entire web team, I guess I should say. But Bijan, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, who you are, how long you've been with Impact, just all that fun stuff, so everybody can get to know you.
Yeah, so my name is Bijan. I've been here at Impact for a little over 3 years now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's been a while. Time flies. But yeah, it's started right in the middle of COVID. So I graduated from West Virginia University right in the middle. I was lucky. I tell people this all the time. I'm just like everyone was struggling to find a job. I found one immediately, and I was hoping I would get like some sort of break after college, but no, I jumped right back into it.
Yeah.
Um,
You jumped into my team.
yeah,
Just pure
yeah.
heck. That's
Uh,
kidding.
but yeah, so I've been doing web development work here now, and it's been a good time. I work under Mike, but I do a lot of solo stuff now, because Mike is just
Sure.
everywhere all the time.
he's a he's a demon. He's tough to keep track of. He's just always managing lots of things. What Mike's been with us for a really long time. Has it been 10 years yet, Mike? Or are we over 10 at this
No,
point?
or it'll be 10 in
I
September.
knew it was getting really close, but I can't keep track. I can't
Yeah,
even remember.
September 2024, in case you're listening in the future.
Okay.
That's when I'll hit my 10
Well, we'll have
year.
to have a special party for that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
you gotta
BJ,
send me to the Bahamas or something. Just kidding. Just kidding.
we'll do something special for you for
Just,
sure. I'm
just kidding.
no doubt. Um, yeah, I mean, BJ came to us at an interesting time. Of course, the whole world changed on us back in COVID. That seems just like so long ago at this point, but yeah, BJ ended up being a remote employee from the get-go pretty much.
Yeah, I think he came into the office for a couple days,
I
and then
think
it
I've
was
seen
like,
him three times in person my entire 3 years of knowing the guy.
yeah,
Yep, yep.
But it works out
Moved
well that way.
moved out pretty quick.
mm,
In and out.
Yep.
But yeah, we BJ's been with us for a while now. I know we're going to talk a little bit about web stuff here, but let's kind of explain. Let's kind of go over a little bit of the differences between your guys' two positions. Like Mike has been with us for a pretty long time. Mike does what the web a lot of the web work, but he does a lot of other things too. But today we're only going to talk about web stuff. Last time you were here, we talked about CRO, but we're going to talk about some other topics on the web level this time. But let's loosely kind of differentiate what your guys the difference between your two roles and specialties are, because you both are extremely talented and have different skill sets. I'll let you go first, Mike, because I can see the wheels turning.
well, I feel like actually nowadays Bijan does like 90% of like the production work. I do a lot of the design side and a lot of the feedback. So like if there's a comp being made, I'm making the comp. And if there's a draft of, a website that BGN very swiftly turns around, I will critique it, tell them like, what to change about it before we send it to the client. And occasionally hop in on the very difficult problems where you need two people bouncing ideas off of each other to find it. Or if a client, is not so happy about a limitation or something, which happens to to every company. You work with dozens of things. You might have one issue where it comes up, and you have to make a compromise sometimes, with what's possible in the technology and the time frames, especially. A lot of our clients need things to be delivered quickly, efficiently. So they might have to make a concession sometimes. I'm really good at I feel again, it's like it's weird for me to talk about like what I'm good at because it makes me feel like I'm just like I don't like it. But
You don't
um
like to brag, but
yeah,
that's what
I
you
feel
do.
like what I'm good at is explaining things to clients in ways where like they trust that I'm giving them like the genuine explanation of it, and like giving them my reasoning so that they can follow me down that path and come to the same conclusion as me.
Hmm.
Like here's all the information I have. Here's what you want, and I respect that. And here's how you're gonna have to compromise 1% if you want it by that deadline, and then we'll develop it to their 100% after or something. If there's a social problem with like the client, I'll jump in on that. But most of the time it's like literal smooth sailing. And so yeah, the design, maybe the most difficult problems where we need to bounce off of each other, and any kind of like client relations thing or meetings and stuff, I handle this.
Yeah, that's an awful lot of stuff there. And I do want to clarify real quick when he says social problem, he's referring to the social media team. Like if there's something that needs to be solved in regards to, setting up the pixel or something like that.
Well, actually, that time I was referring to like that was a weird way of putting it, but I was mainly referring to like a problem in perception.
Oh, okay. Okay.
If, like from the client on the project,
Oh, I
if,
was
if there's
wrong.
ever, yeah, sorry, if there's
It's all
ever
good.
a, but yeah, I do like on we're not focused on that on this episode, but I
Right.
do that part of it as well, like 100% of that stuff where I integrate the stuff for the campaigns and stuff. But anyways, I just wanted to clarify there.
No,
Sorry.
absolutely. I mean, so, and I know in the beginning you had mentioned that, BGN does 90% of it, and don't discredit yourself. Like you do a ton.
Just meant of the development
Yeah,
side.
yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, for sure. That's where Bijan's specialty is and his strong points are. And as yours is with, everything that you had just mentioned. And I mean, I used to do a bunch of this stuff, never to the level of what you guys are doing it now, but I certainly understand it enough. And my specialty in that area when I do it stuff is the design and things of that nature. So, but I can talk the language so we can help our clients understand a little bit better. So Bijan, why don't you go ahead and describe a little bit about what exactly it is that you do at Impact for our clients, just so we can hear it come from you.
Yeah, so I mean, with like the whole production stuff, it's really anything website related is what I tell our clients. Like if you have any questions, need anything with your website, let me know and I'll figure it out. And because like I really find that like a lot of people are very scared to touch their own website. They don't want to break anything. So it's sort of like this I like to be this like very calm sense of security for them when it comes to their website. So there's that, and then on top of that is just like everything that I build for the clients, whether it's a web page, just adding an image to their website. They need custom functionality. I can figure it out for them. So just really yeah, the jack of all trades when it comes to websites. That's how I feel like I try and come across with my work. Um, and then yeah, like with just like building full websites. And like Mike said, there he does a lot of the beginning and end stuff, and I'm sort of in the middle doing like the development side. But there's when a full website comp needs to be made, and we're going back and forth with the client. Mike is usually the one there designing, getting the feedback, and then giving that to me. I build it out, and then we go back and forth with the client about what they do and don't like about the website. Um, and then yeah, I mean that's pretty much our process and what I do.
Yeah, it's an awful lot, and there are things that you get thrown at. I mean, both of you get stuff thrown at you all the time, but like it's not
Right.
uncommon. Occasionally, I'm like, okay, BJ, figure out SEO stuff. I mean, for ourselves personally or whatever. So like, you're not afraid of diving right in. If you don't know the answer, you're really good at, going online and figuring it out, or working and collaborating with Mike to figure out what the best process is. And because you've been here for 3 years, which is a good amount of time, there are moments where I feel like, Mike has been around for over triple that, and I'm not boosting him, but what I'm saying sometimes that he understands, what is best for the client and how to deal with the client and stuff too. So you guys work very well together when it comes to like, okay, here's our problem. We know how to solve it, or we don't know how to solve it. Let's work together and figure it out. So,
Yeah, agreed.
and it's not very often do I ever hear you guys butting heads and stuff. So that's always good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Well, so now we've kind of gone over a little bit about what you guys do and your difference in your roles on the web side of things here at Impact. Let's move more into like the marketing side. Let's kind of discuss, you know, businesses and having websites, which may sound like a pretty basic thing that most people should know, but there are a lot of people out there that don't have good perspective of why having a website is important, or not just having a website, maybe a funnel based site, or something that an e-commerce site, something that converts prospects into customers, because that's what our specialty is. Let's discuss the importance of businesses having websites today. So which one?
Yeah, I can start this off.
Sure.
Um, so I was sort of thinking about this because like I was looking for a restaurant in my area. And it was just like a pizza shop, but they didn't have a website. They just had a Facebook page. And so I was immediately like, I don't know, as like maybe a young person that grew up in the digital age, I'm just like, why don't you have a website? Like it just feels a little bit weird to me at this point. Um,
Right.
and so it's sort of like this very it's a storefront. That's how I think of it. It's your digital storefront, right? And so you if all your storefront is like your Facebook page, then there's less to go around. The aesthetic and the style of your business doesn't come across. Like who you are as a business owner doesn't come across because it's just another Facebook profile. Um, and
Yeah.
then there's like, you I think Facebook is really good for like posting updates for your business. But as a main source for information, I think there's a lot that lacks there.
Yeah, and I also think that the free quote unquote impressions that or reach that Facebook gives you is just so much lower than it used to be when they first implemented like business pages. Because like when they first did it, yeah, they used to give businesses a bunch of like free like free impressions, free reach, free likes, all that stuff. But like they just completely killed it to where you have to pay to get anybody to see any content on there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm sure that there are still people out there that would argue the opposite, right? Like they feel like social media is the place where you can put all your stuff and it's free and things of that nature. But the reality of it is that, is organic social media important? For sure.
Yeah.
100% absolutely is important, but it's not like, in my opinion, the sole place that you need to have. I have a concept that I'm going to share with you guys that I just learned recently from an influencer that I follow named Daniel Priestley. But he speaks about, we live in an era. I'm really interested to hear you guys' input on this. We live in an era where people need to build assets online and their digital real estate. So, if you think about it, it's not going to change in our lifetimes. I mean, at least I can't even fathom what would be different. But just like in the real world pre-internet, when people had, if you were an investor, or you had like apartment complexes, or you had retail stores, things of that nature, those are all retail based. Nowadays, I feel like people need to put out as much digital real estate as they can out in the marketplace. And I
Right.
feel like one of the most important areas of that is your website. What's your guys' input on that topic?
I totally agree. You need to not be beholden to Facebook or like different places. You got to put everything out there. Yeah, it's and the platforms they want to take more and more control as well. Like for example, now you can't do on Shopify, right? So whenever you're pushing your products over to Facebook, our team does retargeting through what's called a catalog ad. And a catalog ad is just dynamically like, say you look at a specific item on a website and it wants to give you that item, but you can scroll through with your thumb. You ever seen those?
Mm-hmm.
It's got like 10 items and you
Yeah.
just kind of like scroll through and
Yeah.
it's got those. So they're making it now. So that's pushed from like basically from Shopify over to Facebook, right? They're making it now. So some of the ones I set up, it'll say you have to have buy on Facebook enabled to
Mm-hmm.
do it. And that means the transaction happens on their end, which usually does have a higher conversion rate because you don't have to click through, but that's one less visit that the actual website gets. So it's actually, in my opinion, bad for the business because you get a higher conversion rate at that point, but it's a short-term play. You get more money now,
Mm-hmm.
but then you're more beholden to these platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't want you to direct users outside of Facebook. Right now they have to let you because
Yeah.
otherwise most people wouldn't run ads. But they're trying to slowly boil the frog and make it so that as much of those transactions and much of the things happens in Facebook. And it's the same thing that they did with the business pages. Eventually, they're going to make it so that everybody has to pay to play more on that, and it's going to get more and more expensive. And so
Yeah.
that's why me and Bijan always advocate for having as much transactions on the website as possible, building that ecosystem, like you said, from the other influencer, having the ecosystem of your website so you're not beholden to these big tech companies and giants, for that. You want to have some of that organic traffic to go to your website. You don't want your product alongside others. You don't want some kind of pseudo eBay or Amazon where you're, competing with a bunch of products. You want to have your brand identity, your website, and control the way that users interact with your products. No, like products like this, but with your competitors and stuff like that.
Right.
It's much better to have people go right to your site.
Yeah, for sure. What's your take on all that, Bijan?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have really said it better myself. The more people like are relying on these different platforms, is just and not having I like Mike said, the ecosystem of your own website and people coming to you for your product rather than going to Amazon and saying, "Hey, like let me get it quick and cheaper than anywhere else." And yeah, it is more money up front right now, but Amazon can take that product away at any time. They can do whatever they want with your product and your listings and um
It's their
and
platform.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Right.
exactly, exactly. And of course it's important to be on these platforms um because, the audiences are so massive, but you have to keep your own as well because at
Yep.
some
Mm-hmm.
point, you don't know what's going to happen. It's not in your control. So as much control as you can keep is a good thing.
And I get the temptation, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because it's like it's more money for less effort sometimes
Mm-hmm.
on the short term,
Mm-hmm.
to sell on these platforms. If you do a website, you have to build up an audience. You have
Mm-hmm.
to convey your product. You have to pay for ads. You might get less organic, to your site through maybe, people stumbling upon it from Google, versus stumbling on your product on Amazon or eBay. So the time you spend versus return, I could see why some people decide to go full throttle on external platforms,
Mm-hmm.
but the investment in your own brand and on your own website is totally worth it. It's just harder.
Yeah.
It gets harder and harder over time
Yeah,
to compete.
I think you said a key thing there that triggered me, and that this just comes from my being in the industry for so long. Um, but you said, building your own brand. And I think that for sure, again, I just had never thought about it in this way. Digital real estate, assets and digital real estate. You know, you've got to be on all these platforms, or at least a few of them, be really good at a couple of them. But for me personally, I mean, because I come from a visual background, I always believe in having a website that is well built, that is very visually appealing, that is intuitive in nature to navigate around. I mean, I just can't imagine a world where anybody would want to. I mean, eventually you're going to have to do that, right? Like,
Right.
and I've been working on some other projects here recently where I'm just like, well, that's the starting point for me, because like that's one, who I am. Two, it's something that I control. And if Facebook were to close their doors tomorrow, and YouTube were to close their doors tomorrow, and TikTok got banned from the country, not that I think that any of that's happening, like at least I still have my chunk of real estate over here. And I think that, if you've done a good job at that and you have a good presentation, if the whole, um, I don't know, all the platforms collapse, at least you have that going for you. And I think that also, even beyond that, we're not going to talk about it today, is, building your list, like
Hmm.
through all of these platforms is so valuable, because you just don't know what's going to happen. Like, things could collapse tomorrow, and you could just be down to one piece resource. But if you have one good piece of one resource, one website that is well done, at least, you still have that and you can keep moving forward.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I just I can't fathom not having a well-built website. It just, to me, and there are businesses that do it, that just build it solely on a funnel. And I guess in some ways your funnel is a website.
It's something. It's
It's
better than
something.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're a really small business and you can't afford a developer, I don't have a problem even as a developer, if somebody wants to use Squarespace or Wix to start out with, where they don't have the capital to hire us, we can definitely do a much better job doing either a Shopify store that's custom developed or a WooCommerce store that's custom developed. But I totally get that, like, you know, if Joe Blow from the street wants to start a business, he's not going to be able to hire us for our hourly rate to do that. So I still think that even if you're in that scenario, it's still better to sell on your Wix or your Squarespace site that you made than it
Mhm.
is to sell through, like, external platforms like Amazon, Facebook, eBay, whatever, because you're building a brand. That way, in the future, you can hire a developer that you then can, that you can then, like, scale your business even further.
Mhm.
If you're beholden to these platforms, boom, a day could change. It's like, um, if you could do like an analogy, it's like if you're like a YouTuber, right? Like,
Mhm.
how like a lot of kids, they want to be
For
the
sure.
YouTubers
Yeah.
now. Well, it's like YouTube can just take their revenue like that. Like,
Yeah.
they could do nothing wrong. And it could be an
And
algorithmic
it's gone.
misunderstanding. But imagine if those same people could have their own website that they were making the same amount of money from. They can't right now. This is a fantasy world,
Mhm.
right? Like, if everybody's YouTube, whereas like their own brand, their own platform, then they would be beholden to their own rules rather than
Mhm.
YouTube's rules, right? It's the same thing with e-commerce, right? Like, you have the option to have your own thing versus
Mhm.
being on the YouTube, aka Facebook, or Amazon or whatever, selling your products, alongside everybody else. Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really boils down to, because of the nature of the world that we live in, whether you're selling through e-commerce, which is a good portion of the things that we do, or you're you're just using a funnel for an offer or whatever. I think regardless, I think we live in a world where you have to have multiple streams coming from different areas, all because of that, right? Like, and I think it's, not everybody can have that, and it takes time to build that because we've done it over time. But for sure, I think it's really important to be able to build yourself a solid brand first online through your website and stuff. And most of the people that come to us, because of the nature of the prospects that we're looking for here at Impact, they're already established, right? Like, because Impact is what we're best at is we're able to help companies scale the things that the sales that they're already achieving, because they've already gone out into the marketplace. They've created a product that there's a need for out there.
Yeah.
They're already selling it online, and they're, generally speaking, we don't take anybody that's selling less than $30,000 a month in revenue on
Most of the time,
an e-commerce
unless they have a lot
situation.
of capital to invest in their,
Right.
like if they're starting a new thing, but they have a lot of capital and they want to get it going, they want it to get it going fast, and we
Yeah.
can help in that scenario.
Yeah,
But
for sure. For sure. But I just think that, that's what we're best at, right? We help people scale up. And so like you worded it perfectly. Like, we can help people that start from scratch, but it's just not generally what our sales team goes out looking for, because we know we're going to get the fastest and best result. And we've shown them on this show before, and also through our social channels and stuff, and on our website. We can scale, we can double people's revenue on their e-commerce store in 60 days or less. Sometimes it just depends on the situation. It's not something we promise, but it's definitely achievable.
right, it's possible.
So
Mhm.
hey, let's move into another topic. So I think we've kind of gone over really well what we do, what you guys do, and just the importance of a website out there. But let's talk about website production process and understanding, helping our audience understand exactly what the process is when it comes to getting us involved on a project.
Okay.
BJ, would
Yeah.
you like to kick that one off?
Sure. I mean, so like with every client, we start off with just what we call a kickoff meeting. And it's just pretty much me and Mike in a meeting with our client and seeing what their needs are, what they're looking for in their website, what information they're trying to convey, getting to know their business, getting to know them as a person, and just trying to really learn about everything that we can possibly think of in order to make like a high quality website.
If
And
I
then
could go ahead.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
If I could interject into, I think what sets us apart from a lot of web teams is a lot of web teams. I said teens as in we're like children. Sorry, teams. A lot of web teams is that we really do take the time to understand the product. Like we ask
Mhm.
questions about the product, and that is something that's so unique. I feel like about our process, because like we can't develop. In my opinion, we can't develop a website that serves the product and have cool, innovative ideas as to how we can use design to convey information unless we really get the product. We'll never get it to the point like of the business owner that started the business that manufactures the product, but we can get it as good as their best salesperson. And that's ultimately what we want to be, when we create a website. So I just wanted to really hammer down on that because I really think that that's one of the things that makes our web team unique, Bijan and I, is we will discuss even after we meet with the client, what we're excited about with that product, how, like, who in our lives could we buy this product for and they would be really happy with it.
Mhm.
We want to understand it to the point where we could sell it. And we talk to each other about that. And even when we're making design choices, we're always trying to serve the product. And when the client disagrees, they always appreciate that we can do a counter argument around how it better serves their product. And most of the time they go with us whenever we have a disagreement about it, because they know once we do our counter argument in results to the product, then they know, oh, these guys get it. Like they get my product. They understand it. That is the experience in the moment that I want every single person that comes into our team, to realize and have is that, like, feeling taken care of, feeling like they barely have to participate in the web process because they're out trying to do what they want to do. So really, we just need a yay or nay on
Mhm.
like, do you like this? And most of the time, like I'm not even just trying to brag, like 99% of the time we nail it on the first try. And the reason is because of the market research we do by talking to the client and looking up their competitors and talking to experts too. If I have a person in my personal life that is an expert on the industry that they serve, I can capture more of that too than just the hour that I have with the business owner on that kickoff where we ask a bunch of questions and we really try to understand the product. Then I can, talk to somebody in my personal life that is into the hobby or into the thing that they sell if I'm not already into it. And then, have even longer conversations with that person and
Mhm.
really understand like, what's the last thing you bought, like why did you buy it? If you're a Jeep person and our new client sells Jeep accessories, right? All right, I know like 5 people with Jeeps. One of them works here, Josh. But I know my parents just bought a new Jeep. They've always been Jeep people. So when we have clients that have Jeep stuff, I'm like, hey, I'll send them like my comp, and I'll be like, hey, like here's their old website. Here's a new one. Do you think mine's better? And sometimes if it's a friend, I'll even lie to them and I'll say, this is a competitor. That way they're more critical towards my work because I want people to drop that whole
Bias.
like that bias to like not
Yeah,
wanting because like as a creative
that's funny.
the
I didn't
most
even know you did
frustrating
that.
thing is when people don't want to hurt your feelings so they don't tell you what they actually think, what they would say if you were their enemy. Like if
Mhm.
you've ever seen like a piece of creative work as to someone you don't like, you tend to like
Mhm.
be overly critical
Oh
about it. So
yeah.
if I tell them, hey, we're trying to win this account, here's a comp that the competitor made or something, like tell me why it sucks or like whatever, then they'll like really lay into it and they'll nitpick it
Yeah.
and they'll be really mean because that they know that's what I want to hear. So that's what I'll do sometimes. And I never like break that, like as far as telling them that, because I don't want in the future for them to be like, is he lying to me again? So yeah, I'm a big fat liar, but it helps our clients, so it's fine.
That's funny. I didn't even realize you did that, and that just reminds me of some of the strategic things that I would do when I was so heavily involved in design work, um, just to get a really truthful and good uh, piece of input from the client.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's something to be proud of. I know so many agencies, and honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've worked for some of them over the years. I have friends that own and different agencies and stuff, and not everybody goes to that depth and that level that we do. I mean, you really are like when we get people that come and our clients work with us, they really are getting the best possible team out there because our team really cares and they go to the nth degree of actually trying to make sure that we can give the best results possible because
Agreed.
when you guys win, when our clients win, we win. And I think even Chris is writing a blog post on that for today.
Yeah.
But that's the reality of it. Like if we're not helping you scale your sales and your online presence and driving traffic that is converting into customers, then
Right.
we're not doing our job. And well, guess what? We want to do our job because we want to get paid and when we get paid, that means that you're getting paid a lot more. So that's
And
awesome.
it sounded like Bijan had something to add to what I
He
said
did. I'm
too.
sorry, BJ, and we moved to one. Do you
Oh, well,
remember?
Mike sort of hit a lot of the points already. Because I was just going to continue
Mike does
about
that. You
how,
got to be careful with him
Yeah,
sometimes.
I'm too
yeah, no,
thorough,
no, he's
man.
good. 'Cause
I'll
I was
leave
just gonna,
any meat and bone for you, meat on
yeah,
the bone.
yeah. I mean, I was just continuing talking about the processes we go through. Um, but I mean, again, Mike hit most of it, but there's just a lot of back and forth with the client, making sure that the client is happy, and that their expectations are being exceeded, and yeah, like we really do get into the nitty-gritty of the products and trying to figure out like, okay, what is going to be best for the customers and how are we going to get them to convert as best as possible.
Makes sense.
For sure, for sure. And yeah, I mean that at the end of the day, that's our job. That's why people come to us. That's why they hire us. I mean, we're constantly showing results on a weekly basis. I've been super proud of our team for a very long time, but in recent times too, I mean, it's just been consistent and more, just week after week, just getting results for these people that really trust us to help build their brand online, and you guys are doing an exceptional job. And just like, I don't want to get into the CRO thing because that was in the other episode, but like at the end of the day, we want to make sure that site is optimized as best as possible for our social team to do their job, which is what
Yeah.
Allie and I discussed last week.
What I'll say in regards to that, and Bijan, please interject.
Yeah, cut him off, Bijan.
Yeah, cut me off if you want to talk to. But what I'll say in regards to that is because we've run so many tests in the past, because we've went through the CRO process for so many different industries, so many different clients, over 1 million users tested. When we make those decisions, they're not from a random place. They're from a statistics like this type of test always wins type of place. So we talk about it with each other when we're trying to design something. We're like, yeah, like when we design the options drop down for a website, we never make it 2 clicks. Never. Not so where you have to click here and then you click again on the option. It's like, no, we'll just have the options with little icons because then you only have to click once and all your options are really clearly there, indicating price, on that, or having the sticky add to cart, or all these things that we know are going to win every single time we test them for CRO. We'll just bake that into the web design. And then that way, when we launch the new site, they get a big conversion rate increase, because a lot of people talk about like web design as like, basically appeasing the client, like, the flashier websites that appease clients but like don't convert better. And I'm of the opinion that you can do both. You can serve both things. You can make somebody's website look way more professional than the old one without sacrificing anything on the clarity of, the content, the load speed, all that. Like if you do everything at a high competency, you should be able to both impress the client with a new design and increase the conversion rate. It's not like people talk about it like you have to choose between the two. Like, you know what I mean? Like whether you're going to make like a really simple, like high converting functional website, or a really complicated, like pleases the client, but it's hard to like check out with the product website. I don't think that that's a dichotomy. I think that's a false dichotomy. I think you can do both. You can make a really fancy, really cool looking website that loads quickly, looks beautiful, and converts like crazy. You know what I mean? Like you can do all these things. Yeah, anyways, I don't subscribe to the notion that it's one or the other.
That's refreshing to hear. And I think I was thinking about the drop down menu point that you put out there, like
On a product page.
on a product, on a detailed product page. I think that it's, a lot of people don't even pay attention to that stuff.
Right. Say you need
The
to select a
majority
shirt
of-
size,
Yeah.
like small, medium, large,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
How many websites do you go to where you click and it says like select size and you click it and you have to click again on large? You would be blown away that if somebody has a big, store, like big store that converts really well, how much more money that they would make if they just eliminate that extra click. It's crazy.
Well, that's what I'm getting. That's what
how different it can be.
That's what I was trying to get at.
I think.
Go ahead,
Sorry,
BJ.
I was gonna add it, like for that test specifically, we've done it on a few different websites. Every time it's been like 20 to 30% increase in conversions. It's crazy.
That's huge.
That's insane. Yeah. If that product page was making 100K a month, maybe it's a super good product and that product makes 100K a month. Now it's at 130K because of a freaking drop down. So that's how much like a bad design decision can cost.
Well, and I think that thanks for sharing that number, BJ, because I was going to get to that, but I didn't know what it was. But I think that again, like hearing those little nuggets is really important, because even businesses who have a large brand that are already doing 6 figures online, they have a well-developed product and website, and they're driving traffic and converting sales and stuff. It's not uncommon for them to come to us and not know anything about that, or the sticky add to cart that you always talk about, or the 20 other aspects that Bijan could come up with that we could test. That's part of the massive value that we provide. Like it's just something we know is going to make it better.
Yeah.
And when we're
Mhm.
working in a platform that we're super familiar with, like Shopify, I mean, it's a quick win. And quick in this game, in the agency game, I mean, having quick wins is really a big deal. You don't have to have all the wins at once, but you
Right.
have little wins immediately.
Hmm.
And I mean, if we're having wins on the web side of things, just wait until we drive traffic to it.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
And you'd be
That's the that's
surprised.
the that's the juicy part.
You'd be surprised how many times we've done that in a prospect meeting and closed deals like for
Yeah.
impact, help folks that we can help because of specific suggestions on the website. Because people immediately get it when we say this stuff, because I think most people, especially people in business, have brains that understand statistics.
Mhm.
So when you explain all this to them, like they intuitively they get the scientific method, they get the whole like CRO thing, but also like I'm, saying right now that is also part of like web migration from
Mhm.
different platforms because people see the Shopify checkout, they are genuinely more likely to check out because it's so universal now that
Mhm.
they almost assume that like it's so familiar to people. And one last thing I wanted to say is whenever we get it, like whenever a client comes to us and is a prospect, so sorry, a prospect come to us before they're a client, before
Mhm.
they've signed with us. A couple times I've done that whole thing where I go through like 5 suggestions that I have for
Mhm.
their website, and they come and they're just like, how much would it cost for you to just do that like right now? And we've given them the price, and they're just had me go do all
Yeah.
those changes. Like every one of these changes makes sense. So go do them. And they'll do that. We'll do it really quickly, and then they'll sign with us, like, after they have this trial period to
Mhm.
see like, how good is this team? Like how quickly can they work for us?
Mhm.
And then obviously Luke will come to me and be like, hey, get it done extra super fast for this client. You know what I'm saying? We're already fast, but obviously if somebody hasn't signed yet, we're doing for that. We're going to give a little bit,
Extra
I'm saying a
super
little bit,
fast.
Amazon Prime Express, service on that. But yeah, I mean, and I can't tell you, like it's happened several, especially in 2024. A lot of the clients that we've onboarded on that we've done like a bite-sized amount of work beforehand, and it's
Mhm.
almost always the web team for that because people have these changes that they've had in their head for a long time. They meet us, they see our passion, they're like, those are my web guys now, and then they hire us for a bite-sized thing. We show them, hey, we're the real deal. We're doing exactly what we're saying. We're not just talking into a microphone, we're doing it.
Right.
And then we do it for them, and they're like, let's go,
I think this is
sign with Impact,
that's a
let's go.
Mike also wears a salesman hat too. He's been around for a while. He can do that as well. So I think this is a good point where it's a good transition point where we can actually move into talking about some results based stuff. Uh, BJ, I'm sure, has several ideas that he can talk about, but there's a one situation and one client specifically that we won't mention their names about a situation that they needed to help with. BJ, do you want to go into that topic?
Yeah, so basically, our client, they have a bunch of different, very complicated uh orders that they have to fulfill. And so within the orders, they didn't really have like a good invoice system to put like in the boxes and stuff. So when the customer opens the box, they can see everything.
Hmm.
Um, Also, as they're fulfilling the package, they can see all of the inventory that's supposed to go in the box.
Hmm.
They didn't really have a good method for that. So, they were originally working with an agency before us on a solution to this, but then they ended up switching to us for a few different things.
Hmm.
But they finally brought this project to us, and I started where that old agency left off, and just hit the ground running with it. And pretty much the client was like, hey, like we need this information on labels, and the labels need to be printed out on from in a custom printer. So the labels actually are like a 1x2 little card. Um, and it basically for every order they had, it made a little card for every product,
Hmm.
every And there were like different variations. So there's like bundles that it accounted for, different colors, different styles, stuff like that.
Uh,
Yeah.
Um,
So in summary, the sales pitch of that is Bijan actually developed a custom WordPress plugin that that literally changed the way their fulfillment process works.
mhm.
That is that a fair summary, Bijan?
Yeah, yeah, and it basically, I don't like obviously it's all internal on their end, so I don't know what the actual like efficiency ratio is, but
Mhm.
like it definitely, I know he messaged saying like yeah, it's saving like at least a few hours every day, um,
Wow.
so
Wait,
That's just
yeah,
money right there.
yeah,
so the we started talking about web work here. So we're talking about a client who had a problem that we needed to help, that they felt confident we could solve. We solved the problem, but we not only solved it on their website, but it additionally solved the what it, it probably created and solved a problem internally on their fulfillment side as well, which made them more efficient
Yeah,
hmm
we
and
we made
increased
their
sales.
we made their
yeah,
business more efficient, or Bijan did.
Just
And that's why they continue to hire us to do more custom development because they get the ROI from it. Like they might pay us, a decent amount to develop a plugin, but when you're talking about saving hours per day, and there's like we see in the background, there's like 20, 30 people in their warehouse running around doing stuff. They're not like an Amazon sized business, but they're a pretty good size
that's incredible.
company.
hmm
And what Bijan did solves many of their team members hours per day. That is such a big, like, it's ridiculously more valuable than what I will say. They didn't pay 10,000 for the custom plugin. We'll say that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
We won't say the specific price in here, but it is definitely like a five-figure, if not six-figure benefit, especially in if you annualize that over a year's time. It
hmm
is a definitely a six-figure benefit, and we charge four figures to do the plugin. So
So
it's
now,
crazy
so
ROI.
now all of a sudden, just so I can paint the picture for those people that have made it this far into this episode,
Yeah.
um, not only do we help people build websites, design websites, do production on websites, but you literally went, I'll venture to say, go outside of the packaged software that their site was built on,
Right.
and you made a custom
Solution.
tool
Right.
and solution that
hmm
involved, deep coding
Yeah.
to be able to make this improvement for them.
Yeah, I mean, there
Yep.
wasn't a WordPress plugin that does exactly what
Right.
Bijans does. We
Exactly.
looked for a long time
Yeah.
because we wanted to save the client
Well, that's
money,
what I'm getting at. I'm
and
trying.
time.
I'm trying to explain to our people here is that we literally, well, I keep saying we, but Bijan gets all the credits. Mike gets the communication side of things sometimes, and Bijan
Well,
as well.
this part I'll take some of the credit is helping to try to find an alternate solution.
Yeah.
We did look together on that part, but 100% of the code for the plugin was
Right.
written by Bijan, just to be clear.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'm
Yeah.
sure Bijan
I'm,
appreciates
I,
that.
I
Thank you.
always like
Thank you.
Bijan. Like what's funny about us is like I am so manic about like correctly attributing credit. So if anybody even implies that I did something I didn't
Right.
do, I feel the need because like
I,
I want Bijan to get all the credit anyways.
I didn't thanks for that clarification. I was not trying to take anything away, but my point is that we went above and beyond and deeper beyond the platforms that they were paying for to actually custom write something that solved their problem and made the company more efficient.
Yeah,
Yep. And
yeah, we need to do that for
there's
more clients. Honestly, go ahead,
yeah,
Bijan.
I mean for this client specifically too, they've come back to us for a bunch of things that have made
It's
their
awesome.
website better and more efficient. And so they're just gonna keep on getting that like long-term return. And it's gonna keep working out for them.
That's incredible. Do you have so that's one example of some custom result related things that we can do. Do you have any other ones that you'd like to share?
So this one isn't actually released yet because the client hasn't launched their migration yet. But there's a tool we built which is like a questionnaire almost like a quiz type thing
Yep.
um that pretty much helps customers find the exact product that they're looking for for their specific like car. And so like the product is something to help you like change your tires.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And they have a bunch of
Remove the tire from a wheel.
Okay.
yeah, they have a bunch of different models for different types of vehicles. So they literally service all types of vehicles. So like regular cars, tractors,
I
aircrafts,
was
like
just going to ask you
anything.
if they serviced John Deere tractors because I changed the tire on my tractor last year and it was a nightmare.
Yep, yep,
Yep.
yep. And so
Their product
there's
probably could have helped you. I'll send it to
yeah,
you later.
probably. So there was just like it's a little hard for like the average person to find what they're looking for without reading like 10 different pages of information. And so we built this thing. He had a list of questions that we just implemented in a through code. And then you answer a few questions and it pops up which products you need. And yeah, so it's I'm really looking forward to once that actually launches to see how that works on the customer facing side. But we really think that it's going to help a lot. Um, and
Yeah.
yeah, there's a whole bunch of other custom things, but those are probably the two like
Well,
that come to mind immediately.
what I'll say as a generic sense is I think one thing that Bijan and I get a lot of credit for from our clients is we're really actually good at quickly comprehending their problem at a deep level, like why
Mhm.
they have the problem and what they want, and they never have to re-explain stuff. Like, yeah, we'll record the meeting. So if we do have questions, we'll go back and we'll watch the recording. We do that for all of our meetings because we don't like people to have to tell us anything twice. We rarely have to though. Like Bijan and I, we will sit down and we will listen until we understand exactly what the client like problem wants to solve. And if we get into development and we were like, oh, you know what? We forgot to ask this one question about like what they want. So then we'll ask them and we want to make sure that when we code stuff and we turn stuff around, that it's solving exactly what they want it to solve. And I feel like we are like S tier, A plus, super good at doing that exact thing. Like turning because in the client's mind, it's a simple problem, and in our minds, it's a simple problem too. The solution might be difficult on our end, but they don't need to know that. They just need to know how much is it going to cost and what is it going to solve, and then we'll do the work. But I just feel like, especially Bijan on his end, like he's just like so good at just understand. Like the client will say, "Hey, like I need this questionnaire or I need this like plugin." Bijan will ask all the questions he needs to develop exactly what they want, in detail. And then I'll go in and use the UI and I'll be like, well, this is perfect functionality wise, but here's why I think it'll confuse this person. This person's a little older, they're not as tech savvy. So instead of, querying this into an input box, why don't we like color code this or have different tabs? And like, so I'll help with like the usability side and he'll completely solve the problem. And just our two minds going together will deliver it. And they'll just be like, I can't believe like how hard you guys hit the nail on the head. So that's just something that I'm really proud of is that our process is so low feedback. Honestly, like it's crazy how little drafts of things that we make. Like most websites and most plugins, most projects, we don't even have like a second draft most of the time. It's like we'll give them the first draft and they'll say like this is wonderful, and then we'll just launch it. And it's fine.
Well,
It's
and that
great.
and that that comes from the fact that we've been doing this for, I mean, Impact's 11 years old. So we've been doing this for a really long time. You guys understand most problems. I mean, occasionally we get thrown curveballs or new problems and things to solve, but you're really good at figuring it out quickly. And and you both know how each other, where each other's strengths are and how each other thinks.
Yep.
So you're like efficient machines, which is really appreciated from my perspective as one of the business owners, but from the client's
That's the
perspective,
guy that pays me. Yeah. Just kidding.
thank you for acknowledging that, Mike. I appreciate that.
I'm like, that's what you're getting at.
I really wasn't, but
Anyways,
I'm just saying, like, I appreciate it, because of, it helps to take care of the company and the client appreciates it. And so
great.
you guys do a really good job at that. I have a question for Bijan. I'm just out of curiosity, on all of these different things, and guys, we could go here and talk for hours. But we want to keep it within an hour, and we're getting pretty close to that. Just out of curiosity, on all of these different things that we do for our clients, whether it's do a visual redesign or do a UI redesign or do a plugin build redesign, like what's the average conversion rate increase from a project for our clients? Like if somebody's doing $100,000 worth of business on their website, like what's a percentage that is
Uh,
average?
I'd say it's probably around 30%.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty
30
good.
per wait, 30%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if somebody's at 100K a month, when we launch the new website with the same traffic, we want them to be at like 130 a month.
Hmm.
That I mean that's incredible.
Right.
Yeah.
Be, from the
And
client's perspective, when I mean, if they're all of a sudden making 30K more just from the optimizations, like that more than pays for typically the work that we've
Yeah. It's
done for the client.
I think from a web standpoint, because of how competitive we are with price, it's basically impossible for a business of that scale not to see the ROI from a website migration that we do, or just a web redesign, even if they're,
Mm-hmm.
if they're in Shopify or BigCommerce or WooCommerce or Magento, or I could sit here and name
Oh
like
my God,
I've literally
Magento.
worked in like 25 different e-com platforms and even more ticketing platforms. But my least favorite's Drupal, by the way.
Oh,
But
we all hate
I
Drupal.
hate Drupal so much. I
Yeah.
hate it.
But it's you mentioned Magento, which brought back. I don't. BJ, have you ever worked in Magento?
I've not. I've definitely heard of it. I know
Yeah.
people still use it, but I've not touched it.
I didn't even know if it was still around, but I don't know if Mike said that because he knows that I've worked in it. But
Yeah.
yeah, there are a handful of, I mean, I've been out of the game of actually physically working in this stuff for a long time because I'm focused on bigger things. But and that's why you guys are here. But 30% is a big number. That's really big. And we're talking
Yeah.
about 30% increase without increased traffic or optimized traffic
Right.
campaigns.
Right.
Yeah.
If you get,
And like that pretty much comes from like all the learnings we have from our CRO tests and stuff. And like I feel like even like when we launch a new website and it doesn't meet our expectations of like getting close to that number, we like go and we look at like, okay, well, what did and it what is and isn't working here, and like we try and offer suggestions or something after the fact to
yeah.
just
And
make sure like we're
And
up
that
to
is not
par.
even that's not even something we discuss when we sell websites. We never talk about the conversion rate increase side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Because like most of the time people come to us, it's a specific problem they want solved, or they know their website's out of date. When I first started in 2014, a lot of it was because a lot of people at the time didn't have websites that worked on phones.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big selling point, was like getting your website working on a phone. Now that's not really a problem. Most websites do work on phones. It's not as
Mm-hmm.
much of a selling point as it was in 2014. But we don't promise that when we do
Yeah.
it. But what I will say is Bijan and I care enough to where if we launch a website and it was making 100K before and it's making 100K still after we launch it, we usually continue to build even though it's outside of the scope of the project, because we want most, every client like to get a decent increase when they do it, because not only do we want to deliver on the increased professionalism that it
Mm-hmm.
comes from like a way better designed website, but we want to see that increase on their bottom line, because we want the website deal to be free for them.
Mm-hmm.
We want it to essentially be free. Like if we charge somebody 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, 50 grand, whatever for a website, we want to make sure that when we launch it, they're getting that money back.
Mm-hmm.
So they get basically a free website. I think that's one of the best feelings, because we got to extract some
Yeah.
of the value as to what we're creating, but everybody wins in that
Yeah.
scenario.
And to before I lose the thought, like to be able to promise somebody how much you're going to increase it is virtually difficult and not very wise from our perspective. I
Sure.
mean, ultimately, it's about solving the problems that the client is aware that they have. And I think once we have a solid understanding of what that problem is, and I'd say I'd be willing to bet um, my paycheck that on 9 times out of 10, you guys can solve the problem. I can't even remember the last one you didn't. But knowing that you're going to solve the problem is the first like positive feeling from the client's perspective that they're going to have. And just from the fact that you've solved the problem, the numbers take care of that percentage. Like the numbers are just going to do their thing.
Right.
And it's a non-issue. And sometimes
Right.
it's a surprise. Like I know this isn't web related, but Allie and I were talking about some of the event results that we got for a specific race recently over the years. And we were looking at a 14%, a 14 ROAS last year on a race. And I was just in my head before the race was over and the campaign was over, I was hoping for a 20. And then she turned around and surprised me. She says, "Oh, by the way, we got 30 points, whatever. It was over 30x ROAS." And I just was blown away. And so you just never know. So that's why it's very difficult for us. And it would be unwise for us to promise a certain thing. But one thing we can promise is the fact that we're going to be able to solve your problem.
Yeah.
Whatever that problem solution is and what it provides, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And like you pointed out, like if we're not happy with it, we're going to work on it some more until it's, ideal.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So do you have any more input on that, Bijan, or anything else that you want to share?
No. I mean, that's pretty much it. Just we work until we're proud,
Yeah. I mean, it's an awful lot. We could go on forever on this topic alone, and we'll do other episodes when we have specific things where we're like, oh, that's a good one. Put that in queue. But I think, we've spent a good amount of time today giving some really good insight on what we do here on the website of things, what we're great at, who you guys are together as a team. People have already met Mike. Actually, Bijan, didn't we do this? We did this before, and I think we recorded a podcast years ago. That's why we called it the reboot. So this is not your first time, right? Or do you?
I don't know if it was like considered a podcast, but I know there was like
video.
a video. I think it was for organic content that I did. It was like 20 minutes long though. It wasn't, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's why when I decided that it was wise for us to go ahead and do this thing, I just called it a reboot, even though we hadn't necessarily, I mean, I'd started podcasts before, but I think this one's going really well.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about how things have been going. And obviously we're getting better and we're upgrading our situation. And we've got some things, we've already noticed today that we're going to fix for the next time, and just continue to try to provide value and let people know what it is that we're great at and how we love to help businesses grow. So that being said, Mike, looks like you got something to say.
I got to do my random tip if you're closing it out.
Well, we're getting ready to close it out. So let's do the Mike random tip of the day.
Okay.
By the way, that was a popular segment piece of the last episode that
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Did we get like a comment about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had people point out, I was like, oh, I really enjoyed the episode. Not only did I get to understand what you guys do more, and I love Mike's enthusiasm, but he ended with, and I especially loved Mike's pro tip. So that being said, you better provide a good one right now.
Well, okay. So my pro tip today is think about the fold. So let me explain the fold real quick and explain how to think about it correctly. The fold is when a device loads, what is on the screen, whether that's your phone or your desktop. So think about what you're presenting in that space. Most of the time, your slider, you can make it less tall. You can crunch everything together, but you always want to make sure that when the web page loads, especially if you're an e-commerce website on the product page, you want to make sure that add to cart is in view on desktop when the page loads. And that's why I advocate for the sticky add to cart on mobile, but still yet on mobile, if the product image is greater than the whole length of the phone screen, you're just losing money.
You're wasting real estate.
Right. You need to use the real estate of the phone because most people won't scroll if they're confused when they hit it. People have the attention span of a goldfish. So present the best fold experience, aka the experience when the website loads, as possible. Think about that.
That's a really good one. I've heard you point that one out quite a few times before, and I mean I don't know how to explain it anymore. It's a really good thing for people to take into consideration, because a lot of times people do make their images really large. And,
You could save some load speed too because you're cropping it. That's less
Oh boy,
pixels.
that's a whole episode in and of
Oh,
itself.
that'd be the most boring thing. If we did the whole
My,
thing on load
my,
speed, I'd be sitting here talking about file formats like with like WebP versus JPEG versus PNG.
I think we're gonna do it,
Oh
guys.
man.
It's gonna
If
be
that'll be the dork
boring,
alert
but
episode.
That'll be the
Very
AS
helpful.
It'll be the ASMR episode, actually.
yeah, definitely the dork alert episode. But here's the value of that. Even like people are gonna be these guys really know their stuff. If they're, anyhow, I was in Mike's office about a week ago, and he was really going on deep dive about
Ah,
of optimizing image size.
oh man.
But I'm not going to get him to go there because I'm going to stop him
I
right
want
now. Because
to.
look, he just
Yeah.
wants to go.
Look forward to that.
So, all right, guys. Well, to find out more information about some of the things that we do at Impact, you can visit the URL on screen here, thinkimpact.com. Go to our website. There's a ton of information there. You can if you go to the blog and the video blog section, there's a ton of testimonials. There's a ton of information. We try to give out free value all the time. If you go to the website and you go to /newsletter, you can enter your email address, and we'd love to get you on the email list. So we're always giving out valuable information about 3 times a week. Just giving out the things that we do and things that we know work, just trying to help businesses out before they're even clients. So that's how you can find out some more information. Bijan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. It's been a good time, and we'll see you guys next time on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the end.
Yeah. See ya.